Welcome back to the History of Rock. His name is Brandon. He's the DJ.
His name is Shim. He's the rock star, and he's the rock star that just moved houses. Hence the reason, if you're watching this episode of the History of Rock, things obviously look a bit different. Shim just got a window behind him with the blinds closed.
With the worst fucking shade that you've ever... the worst shade that money can buy in a rental property.
I've seen worse. Don't worry. But that's why things are looking a little bit different. Also, I know we didn't do any songs in part 2 of Allison Chains. Obviously, we were kind of thrown off when we found that the episode stopped recording like 6 minutes in. So that was a little wrench that was thrown in there.
That'll do it.
Shim doesn't have the full setup yet, so we're not going to be able to do any songs for this episode either. But this episode, we're not covering one specific album. It's kind of what we've done here on the History of Rock so far, is that we do 2 parts where we deep dive into an album, the songs, and kind of everything leading up to it. For this episode, we're just covering Green River. Now, if you've tuned into the previous episodes of the History of Rock, you've heard of Green River. You know who Green River is. And we're going to get to all this here in a minute. But one of the things that we did with part 2 of Allison Chains is Shim told me pick whatever 3 songs you want for the playlist. Like, Shim hates Allison Chains. He doesn't understand why he doesn't understand why they were big.
Dude,
actually, you know what?
This is the thing that bothers me. I've played with Allison Chains. I met them. I hung out with them. We're not friends. Just met them a couple of times. They were very nice guys. If they ever stumble upon this, they're going to think shut the fuck up. Shut up.
Shim doesn't actually hate them. It's just not his thing. Because I was going to actually ask you this, because one of the things that you had referenced in regards to Allison Chains was like the heroin use and things like that, and the subject matter of the songs.
Yeah.
Do you think if they were singing about, because I mean, even on the album
Daffodils?
Dirt, some of it was about heroin, but like the song Rooster was not. The song Wood was actually a tribute song to Andrew Wood, lead singer of Mother Love Bone. Do you think if they focused on other subject matter, you might have received them a little bit better?
No, only because they sound like heroin. I didn't say that they talk about heroin. I said they sound like heroin, and they do sound like heroin, and that's what's great about them. And this is the thing, if Brandon would remember shit correctly, what I actually said was they're an amazing band that I have a massive amount of respect for, because they make you feel like you're in that druggy, dirty, grimy heroin state. And it's kind of euphoric, and it's like, it's not my drug of choice. It's not where I want to go, because it emotionally charges you. That's what good music does. It makes you feel different, and that music doesn't make me feel the way I want to feel, so I don't listen to that band. But they did it so well that it actually made. And that's the thing. When I make music, if someone comes up and says, "I don't like these songs," I'm like, why? They don't make me feel good. I just feel angry afterwards, or I just feel sad afterwards. I'm like, good, then I did my job. You don't like them.
Made him feel something.
Yeah. Fuck off.
Well, because see, that's the thing for me.
Don't listen to them.
That's the thing for me with
why
Allison
if
Chains.
anyone watching says to me, "Don't listen to Allison Chains," the only reason it's coming up is because we're doing a podcast about Allison Chains, and Brandon asked me. I would never walk in a room and say, "You fucking Allison Chains." That's so like.
So because that's the thing with me with Allison Chains, like you were saying, how it kind of makes you almost feel like you're on heroin. Now, I've never actually done heroin before, but there's something about it was with Lane Staley's voice and Jerry Cantrell's voice and the guitars and the way that everything was put together. It's music that calms me. I could have a lot of anxiety going on. I have, my mind's going a million miles an hour. And it was another reason why I really liked Mad Season. That's another album that in a band we'll have to get to, where it was kind of a super group with Lane Staley on vocals. There's just something about that where for me it's calming. And I was even on the phone with.
You know what else is calming?
What?
Heroin.
Well, yeah. But yeah, like I was even on the phone with my mom today. We were talking about it because we're recording this the Monday that the Allison Chains Part 2 dropped, and she was talking to me about it. And I told her flat out, I was like, this is an album that I could listen to front to back over. It might be one of my top 5 albums of all time, but obviously, as we covered in the previous episodes, wasn't quite Shim's jam. Now, we're really getting into a band here that not a lot of people are going to know, which is kind of how we started this podcast with Mother Love Bone. I think a lot of people knew the name Mother Love Bone just because it's kind of a funny name, and it gets linked to grunge a lot, but I don't think a lot of people knew who Mother Love Bone was in the sense of who was in the band and also what their songs were. But we're going back to kind of before grunge was really an actual thing here with Green River, because as we covered it in Mother Love Bone and Temple of the Dog, the first time, at least that we've been able to find, that the word grunge is on record was from the 1987 Sub Pop release of Green River's second EP, Dry as a Bone, which I believe that the album that's right above me, if you're watching this, that is the album cover for Dry as a Bone, and where they described it as ultra-loose grunge that destroyed the morals of a generation. And that's really the first time you really kind of see the word grunge in there. Also, a couple of teases here for not this episode, but the part 2 of Green River is that there's a Jane's Addiction connection in here that we're gonna have to cover Jane's Addiction. We're gonna have to cover their album. At this point, we're gonna have to.
Why?
I've got people arguing with me on YouTube about how amazing they were, and it's like, dude, I saw them the one time in New Orleans and they sucked. Yeah.
Did you said you hate Jane's Addiction? Did I say I don't like him as well? Did I say?
Well, you said
I can't remember.
You said, well, no, see, I do pay attention. So you said that you liked them. You just never quite understood why they were so big.
I didn't dislike them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, for me, I still listen to some of their songs. It's just that one performance was just so bad. But anyway, so we're going to have that coming up in part 2. Also, I went back to around the time frame where Green River's album was released and Who Framed Roger Rabbit was released. So that's going to be our on this date that we're going to get to in part 2. But my real quick question is, did Who Framed Roger Rabbit even really make it down in Australia? Do you remember that as a kid?
I used to watch the shit out of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It was the first times that I saw Bob Hoskins. I didn't know who he was at first.
Yep.
And then I was so glad when he became a Super Mario, and so upset when the movie Super Mario sucked.
Yep.
And but no, I learned all. I haven't watched it for so long, but there was so many great adult innuendo jokes in that I didn't get when I was a kid.
That you get now.
You know. Yeah,
I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it. I think we've watched it with my kid. I think she's seen it, but we gotta watch it again because there's another part in there. Remember, again, I don't want to go too far into this, but the scene with
I haven't even started talking.
Yeah, I know. We're 7 minutes into this episode. We haven't even started to talk about Green River, but in reference to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, a shave and a haircut.
I was about to say the same thing. I didn't know what that was until I saw the movie.
I didn't either, and I also didn't realize that either it's either in like Mexican culture or just my wife's family. That means something awful, like the and we're gonna get to that.
Killing someone, right?
Okay, I'll get to it in the next episode. But anyway, we need to get to Green River here. So they were a band that formed in Seattle. They would eventually break up, and they would kind of create two of the biggest grunge acts of all time, and that would be Mudhoney, and then of course Pearl Jam. And now, like I mentioned, we're not covering one particular album. We're really just covering Green River in general. Again, not to be confused with the Creedence Clearwater Revival song and or album, by the way. But the band existed from about 1984 to 1988. They did play some stuff together in 1993, and then they also kind of reunited in 2008 for some more stuff. You had Mark Arm on vocals, Steve Turner on guitar, Alex Vincent was on drums, Jeff Ament was bass, Stone Gossard was guitar. Of course, those two names are really big because they're the ones that went on for Pearl Jam, and Bruce Fairweather was on guitar as well. So the first thing here is that we're going to talk about the formation of the band. Mark Arm first entered the Seattle rock scene back in 1980, forming his first band called Mr. Ep and the Calculations. They recorded their first song called The Pigeon in the Fountain, which caused local DJ Stephen Raybow to declare them, quote, the worst band in the world.
It's a fantastic review.
Well,
review.
But if you read your next one, there might be some confusion actually about who said that they were the worst band in the world.
Okay, is that because it was written incorrectly, or it actually has been done?
I've seen it related to different. Twice. Yeah, by
enough people said. So it's the next one. Steve Turner had a band called the Ducky Boys, which is like it's got to be one of the worst band names ever. Like, there's so many things that people have to poke fun at on this.
Wait, so the Ducky Boys is worse than Mr. Ep and the Calculations?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good to know.
It's got to be Mr. Ep because Mr. Ep and the Calculations sounds like it's some sort of nerdy prog band. The Ducky Boys sounds like someone that just can't come up with good band names.
It sounds like a band that's dressed like Ducky from, is that Pretty in Pink?
I think of what's the character from Marvel that's the
Oh, Howard the Duck.
That's really Howard the Duck. I think of Howard the Duck. I think of Tony Clifton.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
Tony Clifton?
Oh, yeah.
In a duck suit. I think of Tony Clifton in a duck suit. That's what I think of when I see the Ducky Boys.
That would be brilliant.
And I'm sure that's not what the band sounds like.
Yeah, well.
So anyway, and the band, the Ducky Boys, that included Stone Gossard. That band split, God forbid, in 1983. Turner's Wikipedia page said he joined Mr. Ep in the Calculations, and he said that it was he said that it was the worst band in the world.
Yeah, well, is that Mark Arm was the one that said that they were the worst band?
Mark Arm was the one who said it was he was the one that said they were the worst. So basically, there's more than a couple of people that thought they were the worst band in the world.
Pretty much. So as we're continuing on here, we're kind of going through the formation of Green River. We have Jeff Ament. He was going to college at the University of Montana in Missoula, which I had some friends that actually went to that same college, where he studied art and played basketball. Now, you might be wondering, well, was he playing for the varsity team? Was he, one of the Grizzlies out there? I went back and I looked at the rosters for the University of Montana in Missoula basketball team from about 1979 to 1985, and I didn't see Jeff Ament anywhere at all in any of those on any of those rosters. So I don't believe he was on the actual varsity team, or if there was some sort of JV, or if he just played rec ball. But I do know that he loves basketball, because remember, one of Pearl Jam's first names, it was Mookie Blaylock, who was a New Jersey Net. He was a basketball player.
That's right.
So he ended up quitting college after his second year because the school had canceled its graphic design program. So after this, he relocated to Seattle with his band, Deranged Dragon.
So we're going to retitle this podcast episode "Worst Band Names in History."
I was wondering what you were going to say about the band names, because there's so many at the beginning of this episode, because it's all of the guys who had these bands before they ended up, and they didn't, and even afterwards, they admitted that choosing the name, and we'll get to why they named the band Green River here in a minute. But they even admitted that was stupid, and it's just something dumb that you do when you're in your early 20s.
The name Green River?
The name Green River.
Names?
Yeah, well, no, specifically the name Green River, but obviously we're judging by all these other band names. They're not the best.
Band names wasn't their strong suit. You can't be good at everything, guys. You can't be good at everything.
Because they're good at a whole hell of a lot else, man.
You can't. Yeah, and that's the thing. We're talking about them because they're an amazing band. And we're focusing a significant amount of time on this podcast on the one floor. The one floor. At the very beginning, before Green River was formed, Turner and Arm. That sounds like a weird fucking
Turner and Arm
and Hooch spinoff. Yeah, Turner and Hooch. Now just Turner and Arm. The dog ate the rest of him. There's just the arm left. Really, Turner and Arm didn't really know Ament, but they had seen him perform and liked what they saw. In order to get to know Ament better, Turner got a job at the same coffee shop that Ament worked at. Now that's like something out of a Hallmark movie, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Imagine if they made a Hallmark movie of how bands meet. By the way, have you seen the new Netflix film about what's the band called? There's a fucking new Netflix film. In 2 years, when someone comes back and watches this podcast from now, they're going to go, that was like 2 years ago. But it just came out a couple of weeks ago. It's called Metal something. Dude, you gotta see it.
God, I know what you're talking about.
Tom Morello did all the music for it, and he
Metal
did a bunch
Lords?
of post-promote. Metal Lords. It's a great movie. Fuck, it's a good movie. It's just it's the lead singer of the band. For anyone who's curious, this is why you're going to watch it. If you're a fan of us, I was that guy in high school. Can you hear that? Is that coming through?
No.
It's not coming through. There's a massive fucking truck just sweeping the street right outside the window. I can hear it here. It's not coming through there.
No.
Seriously, dude. What the fuck is that? That's a fucking street sweeper out the fucking window.
And you know what's going to happen is that this is the time that we record the episodes. So every single time we record, that street sweeper is going to be right outside that goddamn window.
Exactly,
but I can't hear it, so it's not picking it up. So
okay, so. But that guy, the guy who's the lead singer in the band, that was me in high school. That's how disgustingly dedicated and sickeningly annoying I was. I didn't care if no one liked me.
I gotta watch it.
I was like, it's like he only cares about rock music and fucking metal, and anyone who doesn't is dead to him and beneath him. That was me in high school.
And that
was me. Yeah.
So as we're moving along here, one of the other things that I kind of wanted to get to. with this album or with this episode specifically is talking with Shim about. I mean, we've talked about the other band names that you thought of and how you kind of had a little notepad where you would keep notes on. I think was it Sonic Garden? Was that one of the ones that you had come up with? So, but Sick Puppies was really it, like because you started that so young.
Yeah, I've only ever been in one real band. The other band, I tried to start another band after the Puppies and chose the wrong people to work with, and it never got off the ground. We released one song for Homeless Rockstars. And then
is that because you were a homeless rock star?
Yeah, I was by the end of that project. So basically, no, Sick Puppies, and I think it's one of those things where I wish I had been in other bands before I had been in Sick Puppies, because there's a perspective that you get from having been in several bands where you go, oh, this is something that works, this is something that doesn't work. It's like if you're dating, you need to date. Well, usually you date a few people before you find someone who you're going to commit to, because you go, oh, I don't like it when a person's like this. I do like it when they're like that. I need to act like this. I need to act like that. And if you don't have that perspective, you don't know what you don't know. So these guys, having been in a few bands, it's really beneficial, and it probably has a lot to do with why they went on to form bands that were really successful, because they learned what to do and what not to do,
and what they liked and what they didn't like. And that's something that's big. I'm telling you, it's going to be coming up here in episode 2, where there's really kind of a moment for these guys in Green River where it clicks. Hey, we're probably not destined to be a band here, and coincidentally enough, it's all wrapped around Jane's addiction. But that stuff we'll get to here coming up.
Nice teaser.
Nice. Yeah, you like that?
Yeah.
It's like I've done this before.
It's like almost like you've been working in radio a couple times before.
Just a few, yeah? Oh, my
just
goodness.
a few, you know.
By the way, what was the name of that other band you were in?
No One Cares. That was the name of the band. That's what we called it.
No was the name of the band?
Cares. No, it doesn't matter. You can look it up. Anyone who cares enough can look it up.
Screaming
and watch No One look it up.
All right, so Steve Turner, he was only in Green River until about mid-1985. One of the reasons that his name pops up a lot, though, is because he ended up forming Mudhoney down the road with Mark Arm, but we'll get to that later. He was eventually replaced by...
You mean Mother Love Bone?
No, Mudhoney.
Because you wrote Mother Love Bone.
Where?
In the thing.
Where did...
You wrote... Just want to make sure, because I
want
to make sure
okay, no,
right.
Steve Turner eventually... See, this is why we got to pay attention here. Steve Turner went on to form Mudhoney with Mark Arm. Now, Bruce Fairweather replaced Steve Turner in Green River. Fairweather ended up going on to become a member of Mother Love Bone.
There you go.
See? There you go. This is how we roll. But see, like this is... What I like about this is I write up these notes, and then essentially I kind of bullet point it so that Shim's to read this, I'm to read this, but we don't want Shim to read it ahead of time, because some of the stuff... I really like it to where, like, I want his natural reaction, and I try to find facts, and I try to find things that I know will get a reaction out of Shim, especially, from his past experience, in being in bands and stuff like that. When in reality, he doesn't read it just because he's lazy.
Fuck off. They're going to believe that. They're going to believe that.
No, it's because I sent it to him just a few hours before, because I try to do as much as possible.
Notice how I didn't sell you out, motherfucker.
No, please. Like it matters. All right. So Alex Vincent, that was the drummer. So he knew Steve Turner and Stone Gossard as they all went to the Northwest School in Seattle. Now, here's a quick little side note. Here's another band that we're going to have to cover at some point.
Dude.
The Presidents of the United States of America. Their drummer, band. Jason Finn, also went to the Northwest School in Seattle. And if you know anything about me, and if you followed me at all when I was on the morning show here in El Paso, you would know that the Presidents of the United States of America, I think it would be like National Peaches Day or something, and we wouldn't pre-plan it. Like, none of this stuff would be pre-planned, but it would be like National Peaches Day. So when Buzz would be going through the calendar, and he's like, and it's National Peaches Day, I'd immediately start playing Peaches. And then we would fall down this rabbit hole where we would start singing Lump, or we would start singing Mach 5, or Kitty, and then we would always end up on Naked and Famous. And I effing love Naked and Famous. And I got to see Naked and Famous. Everybody wants to be just like me. I'm naked and famous. Oh, God. And the cool thing is, with the Presidents of the United States of America, I lived in Eugene for almost a year back in like 04 through 05. Right before I moved to Florida, I got to see them perform at what was called the Wow Hall. This is the Woodsmen of the World. So I got to see them in this kind of smaller little venue, and it's one of these venues that, especially with all of these bands that we've been talking about on the history of rock, performed back in the late 80s, early 90s at the Wow Hall, and they have like a whole wall of the performances from Soundgarden, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, like Green River, all like the Melvins, all these bands that were huge back then. And I got to tell you, if I were to ever throw a party, like the party that they have in Old School where Will Ferrell ends up naked and Snoop Dogg's performing, if I were to ever throw a party like that, I would hire the presidents of the United States of America because they were just so much fun, and it was a blast. I could not have thought of a better concert to have me my last concert before I moved away from Eugene. It was.
Are they still together?
I don't think so. I think they split. But you read this next one, and I'm going to Google that really quick.
Okay. The band took their name from. We're going back to Green River now, by the way, guys, just in case you're wondering. The band took their name from the Green River Killer, who was a serial killer from Washington State. Gary Ridgway had a series of murders throughout the 80s and 90s and wasn't captured until 2001 when DNA evidence from 1987 was linked to Ridgway. So the band was named after a serial killer. I think that that's fantastic. Because God forbid it's actually named after the river in wherever the fucking Seattle is. It Seattle? Where the green? They make a river go green. Well, for St. Patrick's Day, which is just the dumbest thing
that's Chicago.
That people can do. Chicago, exactly. That's how little it matters.
But and that's the thing is that's one of the.
It's stupid. I'm sorry. It's a stupid thing to do to make a whole river green. It's a stupid fucking thing.
That's what we're still stuck on.
Yeah, I'm serious.
Okay, what problems do you have with St. Patrick's Day, sir?
I don't have a problem with St. Patrick's Day. I have a problem with a large centralized government that decides that we're going to completely pollute an entire water source during climate change. Don't get me started, but you got me started. Fucking I look at it and I'm like, the river sucks already, and then you go and make it green. It's like you just And is it supposed to remind, or like people are going to forget that you're fucking them on taxes, and that the city smells and has like a horrible railway system? Like people are going to forget because of one Green River one day. And then how long does it take to get the shit out of the river? And why do you put it there in the first place? I know why you put it there in the first place, but it doesn't inspire people to drink more. It just creates more problems. It's a silly thing to do. I want to know in the comment section, are you for the Green River or are you against the Green River? Nothing to do with the band that we're talking about. Nothing to do with music. Just a fucking concept in my brain that now exists in yours. You're welcome.
So I take it they don't. Do you guys celebrate St. Patrick's Day down there?
Yeah, really? We do what normal motherfucking people do. We drink until we don't feel feelings. We don't dye things green that don't need to be dyed green. We just drink until we don't feel. That's what people do. Anything else is just stupid.
Just making a note of that. All right. Where were we at here? Yeah. So, but that was one of the things. There's documentary on Mudhoney, and I think they go through and they even have Jeff Ament and Stone Gossard in this documentary, and they're talking about kind of their days with Green River. And I think it was Stone Gossard that said that, that was probably not the best idea to name a band after a serial killer. Like, that's something that, looking back at it now from my older age, it was like, oh, that's what stupid 20-year-old Stone did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what about like the Brian Jonestown Massacre? There's a band that literally called themselves the Brian Jonestown Massacre, didn't they?
It's something like that.
No, it's. I'm telling you, it's that. But they named it after a massacre.
After the massacre, yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So you're all for it. So you're pro massacres and serial killers. Look at that. Shim hates Allison Chains. He hates Green Rivers, and he loves serial killers. We are finding out so much about you, my man.
Wow. No, here's the thing. I understand why people. Well, we're not doing this.
You want to go down that path? All right. Well, I'll go on to the next one here.
I kill people.
One of us is going down
to the river.
All right. So Vincent, who was the drummer, when talking about the formation of the band, that he said, "quote We knew we wanted Ament. Stone was in another band with Jonathan Evison called March of Crimes." Again, another band name we're throwing out there. We should. So when we put this up on Spotify,
Which band name is the worst? Let's do a poll.
That's what I was going to do. I was going to put up a poll and say which one, like which of all the band names that we're mentioning in these episodes about Green River are the worst. Which one's the worst one? Which, by the way, make sure that you go back and you do vote in the poll for Allison Chains songs, because we're going to pick 3 that are going to make it into the podcast, into the playlist on Spotify. So we need to know which one. And I couldn't pick. I mean, it was Rooster, Them Bones, Angry Chair, Wood, like. There was too many, and this is even with Shim saying like you can take all of my, you can take all of them, because Shim had no real opinion either way.
Because I hate Allison Chains.
Because he hates Allison Chains, and he also lacks opinions. If there's anything you've noted about Shim, he just doesn't have any opinions whatsoever. He's just this kind of just wishy-washy, gelatinous blob that's just kind of there, right? I mean,
I could literally watch. I could literally watch an entire city just paint their entire river green and not say a thing. Nothing, no opinion.
All right, so anyway,
so
he was in this. So Stone was in this other band with Jonathan Evison called March of Crimes, and this is the quote from Vincent. He says, "Stone got fired, and we picked him up before we recorded the first demo." Now, the reason Jonathan Evison's name comes up is he is now a kind of renowned author. He's won multiple awards for his works, which include All About Lulu, West of Here, The Revised Fundamentals of Caregiving, and This Is Your Life, Harriet Chance.
You know, the funny thing is the titles of his books are better than the titles of his bands.
Well, maybe they should have gone with that. All About Lulu would be a great band name, right?
All About Lulu would be a great like punk pop, or like one of those grimy punk bands that's like an all-girl band. Yeah. All About Lulu. But the lead
singer would have to change her name to Lulu, right?
Yeah, fine, deal with it. The Ramones did it, you can do it, bitch. West of Here.
I like how you call this imaginary human being that doesn't even exist, bitch.
Bitch. West of Here is a country western band. The Revised Fundamentals of Caring would be great for like a prog death metal band.
Yeah?
Imagine that. And This Is Your Life, Harriet Chance. That sounds like a band name from a band that doesn't know who they are yet.
I was going to say that one actually sounds more like a debut album.
Yeah, This Is
like
Your Life,
climbing up the charts. Here we've got the latest from All About Lulu off of their debut album, This Is Your Life, Harriet Chance. We're going to West of Here.
That actually does work. You fuck. That works really well.
And do you like my top 40 pukey voice as well, by the way?
Yep, it's perfect.
Hey, coming down here on the top 40.
That's what your avatar should be. That's what when you get around to being able to talk about that, that's what your avatar. That's the sound of your avatar for 60
Oh
seconds.
Yeah, it is. Oh no! If anybody wants, go to my Instagram page. Go to @TheRealBrandalorian, because I'm trying to my wife is having me help my mother-in-law kind of like cook healthier foods, like more heart healthy foods and things like that.
Isn't that a nice way to put it? It's a lovely way to put it.
What?
My wife is having me help, as opposed to I'm helping.
Okay, I'm helping.
My wife is having me help.
But anyway,
grandmother.
Okay, so I'm helping my mother-in-law with some of the ingredients and things like that she's cooking.
Edit that bit out. Yeah.
And one of them is hemp seeds. Hemp seeds are really good for you, and you can kind of put it in anything. So I told my wife, I was like, we need to, get your mom to buy some of this stuff. So we filmed a real. She was like, you need to. I need to say it in Spanish because my mother-in-law only speaks Spanish, and my wife was like, do your radio voice. So I kind of did my Spanish radio voice like this, and
Do you speak
already.
Spanish?
It's very limited. It's very limited.
Right.
I mean, I'm learning it, and when I'm around the family, I pick up on a lot more. But if you want to go to my Instagram page, I did a reel where I did this kind of like phony little 10-second commercial about it. I say in Spanish, you need to buy this, is what it is. But I do it in my Spanish radio voice, kind of like this. De comprar. That means to comprar, to buy. Hi, you need to buy. I don't know why I became Dracula. I don't know. God damn it. Go to the next one.
Blah.
I did 1 hemp seed. 2 hemp seeds.
The band's first record was Come On Down, which was recorded in December 1984. Love that year. It's a good year for all things prophetic. By mid-1985, see what I did there? By mid-1985, the band had finished the album, but Turner had left the group, citing his distaste with the band's heavy metal leanings. Would you really call them heavy metal leanings?
Well, I mean, this is kind of going to be something we cover in the next episode here with Green River is where we're going to be talking about really what happened to the band and how, like Shim was saying, he wishes that he would have been in a band before Sick Puppies, so you can kind of, you learn this doesn't work, you learn this works and stuff like that. And that's really what happened here with Green River, is that you had these guys who knew they were all talented. They all knew what they were bringing to the table, and so that's what they did when they formed the band. But then after a while, they realized we're kind of going in two different directions here, and that was ultimately what the split was. But that's going to be coming up in the next episode. Now, speaking of that, it was an EP really is what it was with Come On Down. The band went on a nationwide tour to promote the album, but the problem is the album got delayed. So it negated the purpose of the tour. However, they did make some great connections when they were on that tour, including Sonic Youth. That's another band that we're going to have to cover here at some point with how influential they were. And who it was Kurt Cobain. We were talking about Nirvana, right? When he was talking about how they were the ones that really introduced him properly into the music industry. And this is the stuff that you need to look for. This is who you should probably work with. Look for these things for the people that you want to work with or you don't want to work with, and things like that.
That is so helpful. If you can talk to a band that way, just having one conversation with someone who tells you, do this, don't do that, from someone who's been there, because otherwise it's fucking insane. That's one of the reasons why it'd be good to be in a band a couple times before you start your real band. I tell people all the time, like, just play with everyone, start bands, do stuff, find out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, I believe one or two of the members of Sonic Youth. Yeah, have you heard of Third Secret?
No.
It's the new band that's got Chris Novoselic in it.
Oh yeah, it's Chris. It's the guitar player from Soundgarden's guitar player, Kim, right?
Yeah, it's got Kim Thiel in it as well.
And then who's the drummer?
I haven't done enough research to really because I thought about doing an episode on them, and I could have sworn that it had somebody from Sonic Youth in it, but I think I'm mistaken on that, because it says here it's just associated acts: Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Giants in the Trees, Hater, and Void. But I could have sworn that it was somebody from Sonic Youth. I think I just tied those two together because of the ties with what we've been doing with the history of rock, talking about grunge, and then and I listened to it. Third Secret's great. You can check it out on Spotify now. But it's a brilliant band. All right, so where were we left at here?
You said that they quoted "Come On Down" in their own composition, Nevermind.
Yes, so it was they quoted it, but the song is called Nevermind, What Was It Anyway? And I believe that song, Nevermind, What Was It Anyway, was all about this time when somebody had stolen all of the band's instruments and some like priceless memorabilia and stuff that they had, and the song was about that happening essentially. Because my first thought was, well, the song was called Nevermind, What Was It Anyway? I wonder if they're talking about Nirvana's Nevermind.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
I don't think
Nirvana
that was it.
Took that.
No, because I believe this came out post Nirvana's Nevermind.
Right. But after the tour, going back to the sheet, after the tour, the album was finally released, but to little fanfare, and it didn't sell well. I wonder what that feels like. However, it is considered to be the first record released by a grunge band, as it predated both the Melvins' debut EP and the Deep Six compilation. Interesting.
All right, and this will be the last fact that we're going to be able to get to here for this episode. But it says they started to gain...
I have a question for you when we're done, when you finish that. Go.
All right, final one here. They started to gain a bigger following as they played through the Pacific Northwest. And then it was in 1986, the Deep Six compilation was released. This is something that we've talked about a lot. It was Sub Pop, the record label that released the Deep Six compilation. You also had Soundgarden on there. The Melvins were on there. Malfunction, which was Andrew Wood's band before Mother Love Bone, was on there. I think the U-Men and Skinyard, if I'm remembering correctly. I think that those were... that was off the top of my head, by the way, so I might have been wrong. If I wasn't wrong, fuck yeah. If I was wrong,
tell us in the comments section and help the algorithm.
Yeah, come argue with me more about fucking Jane's Addiction. But so it was the Deep Six compilation. That's when it was released in '86. So Kathleen C. Fennessy of AllMusic said that the compilation, quote, documents a formative period in Northwest rock history, unquote. In reality, it really documents a formative period in rock history, period. not just the Northwest. Because if you think about that Deep Six compilation, that really led to a lot of the stuff that was the late 80s, early 90s kind of grunge movement.
100%.
All right,
100%.
so you're going to ask a question before I started.
Have you ever rolled your eyelids?
What?
Have you ever turned your eyelids
flipped them?
inside
No,
out?
I could never do it. Why? Are you going to want me to do it?
I did it by accident yesterday. And I fucking
This is what's
freaked
going
out.
on in your head while we're recording this?
Well, I mean, what else am I supposed to do while you're talking?
Jesus Christ.
What else is there to think about?
Well, next time, try to...
Don't do it on purpose on the camera.
Ah! I never could
like
do
a
it.
kid. You sounded like a kid who's trying to fold a paper airplane and ruins it. Ah!
Now, either that or the kid that's doing it too fast and gets a paper cut.
No, I'm serious. I was in the bath last night, and I don't really take baths. And I was there, and I my face is wet, my hands wet, and I went and I did that thing where like you rub your face, and then I did that thing with your eyes.
Yeah.
And when I pulled my fingers away, my fucking eyelid was inside out, and I was like, "What did I do? What did I do?" And I
like the top one was like flipped. That's what you're talking about, right?
It was an innie.
Oh,
so my eyelashes
the
were on
other
the
way.
inside. And I was like, and I tried to fix it, and it wasn't getting fixed. And I tried to gently rub it, and then I was like, if I go too hard, do I hurt myself? I was really, and
if I go
was
too
worried.
hard, is my eyeball gonna pop out?
No, but I remember
socket?
thinking, I seriously, dude, I had a moment where I was like, if I push in the wrong way to try to get the eyelid, does the eyeball pop out because the eyelid keeps the eyeball in? You know what I mean? Like, does the top part pop out? And I was like, I sat there and I just sat there for like...
This is my impression of Shim.
I sounded close to that. But I was sitting there doing this thing where you're like, and you just try not to freak out, and you're like, oh, fuck, how does it go back? I've never done it. I don't know how it got in, so I don't know how to get it out. That's what she said. So, anyway, that was it. I just thought that'd be a fun little bit of content from one of the
that's
reels.
the thing. Did you ever have the kids that would intentionally flip them like
I
the other way?
try.
So
I wanted to be those kids. I wanted to be able to do it, and I didn't want to be the guy who, later in life, sitting in the bath that does it by accident and freaks out that his eyeball's going to fall out of the socket. I didn't want to be that. I want to be the first one.
Well, but
does it to freak
but there was
out.
the kids. It wasn't. It would fold in, but they'd flip it out.
Yeah.
Like those ones.
Yeah, they'd flip it
There's
out,
one kid,
and then they'd walk around going, good.
Yeah, no. I remember there's one kid. He could do it, not even using his hands.
Just by what? By
he would just kind of do
pop 'em?
like this, and then they would pop and like that. And it's like, what the hell is going on with this kid? Jesus, no! I was the kid. I was the kid that could wiggle my ears and wiggle each ear like one at a time.
Oh,
like I was that guy.
Yeah,
that was my.
I was the guy that wrote hits. I was the guy that wrote hit songs.
At a kid.
When
you were a kid,
right.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah. Just because
really
no
quick.
one heard them doesn't mean they weren't hits.
Final note here before we get to we wrap up this episode. So I bought this Rolling Stone rock trivia like daily calendar, thinking like, ooh, this is something I could incorporate into the History of Rock podcast. It has been highly underwhelming as we are now May 2nd, and I'm just now getting to the first one that has even relatively seemed relevant. There's been a few that I'm keeping for some other things, but this was the one that came up over this past weekend. It said, which 90s indie label sold T-shirts displaying the phrase, what part of "we have no money don't you understand"? And the options are Matador, Sub Pop, Merge, and Amphetamine Reptile. And of course, the answer is Sub Pop.
Sub Pop?
It's Sub Pop.
Sub Pop.
Yeah,
Okay.
the one that we've been talking about this whole time that was really the kind of the forefront.
I think it's hilarious
of
that
grunge.
like Sub Pop is the record label. The record label pays the bands and pays for the albums to be created and made. And they make T-shirts that said, what part of "we don't have any money don't you understand"? Which, if they wear the shirt, it's bad rep for them. If they hand it to their bands, they're basically saying, by the way, we intend for you to make no money. We expect that that's what's going to happen. So
Well,
that's not
we're
good
gonna-
for a record label.
Well, and the interesting thing is we're going to be getting more into that in the next episode when we're finishing up here with Green River. Because, of course, we're going to talk about the Jane's Addiction connection. We're going to talk about sort of why the band split. We're going to cover Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And also the fact that at one point, so this first album, Come On Down, was not on the Sub Pop label. Their second EP was. And, again, it was delayed because they didn't have any money to actually put towards the album and to get the album made.
For a fucking label that had no money and no sense, they did quite well.
Yeah. And actually, if you go back on Hulu, there's this show called Dark Side of the 90s, and they cover like a different topic. There's one really great one that they do that covers the Viper Room in Los Angeles, which was notorious because obviously it was a place that Johnny Depp had purchased, and it was where celebrities felt safe to kind of go be themselves, but it was also the place where River Phoenix died, like right outside. And then there's a whole episode on grunge, and they, of course, the guys from Sub Pop, like Bruce Pavitt and everybody else that was involved, they're very heavily in there, and he would describe frequently about how like we didn't have money, and even later on, and as the grunge movement sort of died down, ultimately what happened is this little label from Seattle that was supposed to be like, we're against the big guys and we're going to do this, they sold to a major label was essentially what happened.
Wow. No way.
But all that stuff is coming up on the next episode, and Shim will hopefully have the guitars and everything set up for the next one. I do kind of like the window setup, so if we could just leave the window there, but we'll pan out a little bit, and we can put some lights around the frame of the window, and that would look magical.
Are you being serious right now?
Not at all.
Okay.
No, but oh crap, right before we go too, one of the other things too is that we kind of you'll notice Shim's at a bit of an angle. Well, the first time that we connected on the Zoom meeting here, it was stretched too, so it literally looked like a grunge video. And we were trying to keep it, and ultimately it kind of went away, but it was, remember how they would like distort the camera? That's what Shim originally looked like before we started.
We can go back to that for the next one.
Yes.
We could try to.
We will.
All right, in the meantime, thank you very much for watching the History of Rock podcast.
Go to
His name is Brandon. He's the DJ.
I'm the DJ. His name's
DJ.
Shim. Hey, he's the rock star. Go to our socials. Check out Shim on Twitch. Check out Shim Instagram. Myself on Instagram at The Real Brandalorian. You can find Shim at Shim Music. But that's it. Class dismissed.
Class dismissed.
I don't think I ever said class was in session.